Unit 4, Biological Psychology. Presentation 2, Stress-Related Illness and the Immune System.
In this presentation, we're going to look at the relationship between stress and immune system functioning. The immune system is your body's way of protecting itself from infectious agents, such as viruses and other toxins. Your immune system protects your body from many different types of bacteria, virus, and other toxins that would otherwise invade it and make you ill. None of these can get in when your immune system is working efficiently, but the moment it stops functioning properly, the door is wide open to infection.
So what can go wrong? Well, our immune system can let us down in two ways. It can become under-vigilant, letting infections enter the body, or it can be over-vigilant, which is what happens when the immune system itself causes the illness. With an over-vigilant immune system, this can result in a misguided attack on your own body. This causes the damage we know as autoimmune disease. For example, in alopecia, the immune system attacks the hair follicles, resulting in a loss of hair. In many autoimmune disorders, such as alopecia, stress is an important contributory factor in the onset and worsening of the disorder.
Research on the relationship between the immune system and stress. In 1984, Janice Kiecolt-Glaser and her colleagues carried out a study to investigate whether relatively short-term stresses had an effect on immune system functioning. Let's start by examining how she managed to do this.
The participants were 75 medical students about to sit a very important examination. This was a natural experiment because the researchers made no attempt to manipulate the independent variable, which for this study was whether the students were in a state of low stress or a state of high stress.
To assess immune system functioning, blood samples were taken and natural killer cell activity was assessed. Natural killer cells are a type of white blood cell and an important component of the immune system. They play a major role in the destruction of virally infected cells, so their activity is vital for a fully functioning immune system. This assessment took place on 2 occasions. The first assessment was 1 month before the students' examinations, and the second was during the exam period itself. The first was considered to be the low-stress phase, and the second, the high-stress phase.
In addition to taking the blood sample, the researchers also asked participants to fill in questionnaires about any other life stresses they were experiencing during the 2 phases of the study. This was to determine whether any changes in immune system functioning were due to the stress of the examination or to the other life stresses.
What Kiecolt-Glaser found was that the natural killer cell activity during the examination period was considerably reduced from the levels found in the first blood sample before the exam. The researchers also looked at the results of the questionnaire and found that immune system functioning was most reduced in those participants who were experiencing other life stresses.
There are 2 main conclusions we can draw from this study. First, we can conclude even relatively short-term and predictable stresses, such as examinations, can significantly reduce the efficiency of immune system functioning.
Second, when both short-term and chronic stresses occur at the same time, this makes the individual particularly vulnerable to illness. In the Kiecolt-Glaser study, those participants who were also experiencing other life stresses during the examination phase of the study showed significant suppression of immune system functioning.
In other words, the more stress they were under, the less efficient was their immune system at fighting off illness. That would explain why people often seem to get ill round examination time.
Evaluating the relationship between stress and immune system functioning. We could criticise this study for the nature of the sample because it was restricted to only medical students. However, the results of this study are in line with findings from studies of other groups. These include women going through a divorce and carers of Alzheimer's disease patients. Both these groups showed a clear link between the stress they were under and decreased immune system functioning.
This suggests that whatever the source of the stress, it has the potential to suppress the immune system.
The relationship between stress and suppression of the immune system was supported in another study by Kiecolt-Glaser. She compared women who were undergoing a stressful separation from their partners with a group of matched married controls.
What do you mean by matched married controls?
I mean a group of women of approximately the same age and social class as the separated group who had been married for about the same time. This enables the researcher to judge that any differences in immune system functioning must be due to the difference between the two groups.
Which was whether they were separated or still married.
Exactly. Kiecolt-Glaser found that the separated women had much poorer immune system functioning than those who were still married. This relationship between stress and poor immune system functioning has been confirmed in many other studies. For example, Philip Marucha found that wounds take longer to heal in the days leading up to an exam than during the summer holidays. Suzanne Segerstrom and colleagues carried out a meta-analysis of over 300 studies of stress and immune system functioning. They concluded that the more long-term the stress, the more a person's immune system was suppressed.
Does stress always suppress immune system functioning?
Oddly enough, there have been some studies that have bucked the trend a little bit, showing that stress doesn't always have a negative effect. For example, the health status of Apollo astronauts was monitored during splashdown to check for changes in their immune system functioning. Fisher and colleagues found no decrease in the astronauts' overall immune system activity during this extremely stressful period, and even an increase in their lymphocyte levels. Lymphocytes are white blood cells that bear the major responsibility for carrying out the activities of the immune system. An increase in the lymphocyte levels suggests that immune system functioning might actually be improved during conditions of short-term stress.
Does this mean that whenever we get ill, it must be due to the stress affecting our immune system?
Unfortunately, the relationship is not that simple. Health is affected by many different factors. These include genetics, lifestyle, diet, and so on. When you take all these factors into consideration, stress is just one more factor that can influence health. As a result, it can be difficult to determine whether illness is a consequence of stress or some other factor.
So I can't blame the stress of having to attend psychology lessons for this rash?
Probably not.
What can we conclude? Research has established a clear relationship between stress and immune system functioning. However, being able to test this relationship to establish a causal link between the two will always pose problems for researchers, because we cannot establish whether stress is the cause of the illness or the consequence of it. Establishing cause and effect would involve subjecting people to significant stress and then following them to see what happens to their health. Fortunately, for fairly obvious ethical reasons, this kind of study would not be allowed to take place. For now, we can accept that a link exists and that it is probably causal.